If you like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. What's going on, Knuckleheads? Welcome to the FightersRep video podcast. I am your host, the FightersRep. I know we don't typically come on Saturdays unless there's a fight, but you know, with the way things are going right now, with this pandemic going on, there's probably not going to be any fights for a while. So, you know, we're keeping it busy, trying to keep you entertained and trying to come up with things to talk about. And there's always something to talk about. Absolutely always something to talk about in the fight game. But that being said, you know, one thing that really crossed my mind and one thing that we're going to talk about in this video today is basically two Mambas in 2020 and a coronavirus. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about when I say Mambas, well, what I'm talking about is Black Mambas. And when I'm talking about Black Mambas, if you still don't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about two iconic sports figures, two men that were involved in the conversation, right, of the most successful person in their industry. And what do I mean by that? Well, first off, we lost the great Kobe Bryant. And that happened, I believe it was on February 15th. And he was the Black Mamba. And we also just recently lost Roger Mayweather. He was also the Black Mamba. And he died on March 17th, which was just 4 days ago. Both gone before their time. Roger Mayweather gone at just 58 years of age. Kobe Bryant gone at a very sad, very early 41 years of age. And when I'm talking about two guys that are in the conversation with the best to ever do it in their sport, in their respective fields, what I mean is Kobe Bryant is, I think, considered by many to be one of the greatest basketball players to ever play the game. A lot of people say, you know, he's kind of second to Michael Jordan in the way that he played the game and his accomplishments. So, you know, he's definitely a guy in the conversation of one of the best to ever do it in his respective field. And then you look at Roger Mayweather, right? And, you know, I'm not saying Roger Mayweather was the greatest boxer to ever live or one of the greatest boxers to ever live, but he was a very good boxer. Let's go over his credentials. He was a two-weight world champion, held the WBA and lineal super featherweight titles between 1983 and 1984, and he was the WBC light welterweight title holder from 1987 to 1989. He also held the IBO light welterweight title in 1994 and the IBO welterweight title from 94 to 95. Now, obviously, we know him in that he comes from that boxing family, that Mayweather boxing family, and he coached Floyd Mayweather to become TBE. He was more than anyone, more than even Floyd's father perhaps, the person who made Floyd Mayweather Jr. into TBE. And when I say TBE, I mean his self proclaimed the best ever moniker. And, you know, I don't say that just to, you know, be sarcastic or anything like that. I actually believe that in all my years of watching combat sports, especially boxing, I think Floyd Mayweather Jr. is one of, if not the best boxers that I've ever seen in my entire life. So, you know, when I say that both of these Black Mambas that we lost within a couple months span of each other in 2020. You know, when I say these two Black Mambas we lost were two guys that were absolutely iconic and people that you need to talk about or in the same discussion as the best to ever do it in their fields, I mean it, and that's why I mean it. Before I continue, big shout out to the homies in the chat, all the knuckleheads. Appreciate you guys. Mahilo's in here. Fight Life, Calculated Risk. Mahilo says, "What's up, what's up, trainer? How are you? Crazy times." Hey man, I know it. Fight Life Nation saying Roger Mayweather had such a great role in Floyd's career. Never got to watch him fight, but definitely a Hall of Fame trainer and a hell of a fighter as well. Calculated Risk says, "How are you, George? What's up, Chaz?" Hey, I'm doing good, brother. Thank you for joining the chat. Mahilo says, "Calculated Risk, all good. What about you? Social distancing with a live chat is proper." You guys hilarious, man. But yo, Calculated Risk says he's bored. Hey, we're all bored in this time. I hope you guys are liking the new look of the studio. You know, we got to hit this thing hard now since there's nothing going on. So this is a topic that I wanted to discuss with you guys and with anybody watching this video. If you're watching it live or on the replay and you haven't been here before, hit that subscribe bell notification icon next to it. We typically do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but we're doing it like every night now since this pandemic is kind of screwing with our social lives. Also, anything you guys donate to the chat or purchase in the links below, any FightersRep gear, obviously gets reinvested right back into FightersRep. So yeah, you know, back to the kind of, you know, back to the topic at hand. Two Black Mambas. I mean, it's incredible how many sports stars do we have that are nicknamed Black Mamba. And for both of them to die in 2020 with their lives sort of cut short ahead of their time. Obviously, I think Kobe's, you know, I don't even want to really bring it up too much, but I think Kobe's obviously a bit more tragic and he's younger. But, you know, also Roger Mayweather, I mean, only 58 years old. I mean, not an old man by any means. His was more of a matter of deteriorating health. Maybe you could see it coming. But Kobe Bryant was especially surprised and not a good surprise. Both not a good surprise at all. But yeah, kind of coincidental that we had two Black Mambas that we lost in 2020. I think it's an absolute shame, and these guys deserve, you know, all the respect they got and then some. And man, it's been a tough year for sports. It's been a tough year. It's been a tough year for the fight game so far too. You know, within these couple months, everything's getting canceled. And it's been a tough year all around just for humanity with this ridiculous coronavirus. Just because, and I'm not, you know, right now I'm going to blame it on what science is telling me to blame it on. Just because some people decided to eat some bats and be nasty, you know, and you know, prepare bats for consumption and sell them for consumption in these wet markets. You know, unfortunately, just because of that, now the world is basically locked down and thousands of people are dying and hundreds of thousands are infected with this disease, maybe more. So, you know, real shame the situation we're in. This 2020 has been very, very strange, you know, and a lot of people will say, you know, it's been a horrible 2020 so far. You know, if I'm being honest, for me personally, I disagree. You know, it's been a pretty good year for me. You know, however, because I'm very much an empath, you know, it has kind of knocked me down a notch, seeing all the suffering and pain that's going on, and also losing guys like Roger Mayweather in combat sports, a guy who's iconic. I mean, let's face it, he's iconic. He's basically the guy, for me, that invented the whole slogan of, you know, you don't know shit about boxing. He's the guy that invented that. And then to lose Kobe Bryant, I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but I actually played basketball in high school. I wasn't a huge Kobe Bryant supporter because I wasn't a Lakers fan. I was a Miami Heat fan, grew up in Miami. But man, how could you ignore Kobe Bryant, And he was basically like at his peak as I was, growing up through high school and going through college. Definitely someone a lot of my teammates idolized, worshipped. And that was a huge loss, a heavy loss, and a heavy loss for everybody out here in Los Angeles where I'm at right now. I'll go as far as to say that my significant other actually, seemingly, lost sleep because of Kobe Bryant's death. I mean, it was pretty crazy. Give me a second here. Let me close the door. Yeah, so and she was anxious, and I remember like we were at a religious service when it was announced. I had seen it on my phone. I thought maybe it was like a prank or something, and then it was announced, and I was like, damn, I can't believe this guy died like that. So just a very, very ugly year for sports icons so far. I mean, and I still can't get over the coincidence of that, to lose two guys with the Black Mamba moniker, two guys that were so incredibly influential and important in their respective sports, and it's crazy because, again, not only are they both taking that moniker on, right, Black Mamba, but they're both so special in their respective sports as far as talent and everything else goes. And they both die within a couple months of each other. Just something very, very strange in that. You know what I mean? Let's see here. So, a calculator is saying bunker down in the crib, stay in till the smoke clears. I agree with you on that one, brother. Let's stay away from all these, people out here, all these crazies down in my native South Florida that are at the beach. They need to get the hell off the beach. They need to go stay inside. Everybody needs to be inside. Let this thing die out so we can go back to normalcy right away, because I am not feeling this quarantine life right now, guys. Fight Life Nation says Roger jumping into the ring after Zab Judah was super legit. Wasn't going to let someone low blow his fighter, then hit him behind the head. Not just his fighter, his nephew in Floyd Mayweather Jr. Calculated Risk says all the boxing UFC events canceled. 2020, it's yet the worst year so far for sport. Fight Life Nation says coronavirus claiming fights left and right. It's a damn shame. Mahalo Mikkel with the monetary donation. Thank you so much for that, brother. Says enough toilet paper at home. Here is a tip. Thank you so much, man. Luckily, we're not low on toilet paper yet, but I read a pretty hilarious meme that I wanted to share with you guys that said, man, hopefully a worldwide diarrhea virus doesn't hit. Then we won't be able to find any nasal spray. A very sarcastic meme that said that, obviously, because, this is a respiratory illness and people went out and bought all the toilet paper. I mean, you really have to be a Neanderthal to have bought all the toilet paper. And imagine if this were a sort of digestive virus or disease that affected, the bowels, man. It's just ridiculous. Calculator Risk says, I don't know where it comes from, but eating exotic bat soup is the grossest. And the way they kill dogs and cats alive, man. Calculator Risk, I'm not too versed on that, brother. I'll be honest with you. But that being said, I'm not eating anything other than a chicken, a fish, a cow, maybe a pig if you really push it. In some instances, but that's it. Like I'm like done right there, so all these people with their adventurous eating habits, somebody needs to really create some sort of legal standards, sanitary standards for how this stuff is done, because this is unacceptable, man, for people to be dealing with these animals the way they're dealing with them, and then, wipe out thousands of people worldwide because they want to experiment and they want to eat adventurously. I mean, it's just unacceptable for me. And, Mahilo says the bat eating man sounds like the man doing with a monkey causing AIDS. Question everything. Who knows, man? Who knows what this came from? I'm going to go with science that says, this was a disease that jumped from animal to human. I think I read somewhere it went from a bat to a pangolin to a human. All because, the way they had stacked these animals at these markets on top of each other, they're sort of, their excrement and their bodily fluids were kind of falling on each other and collecting on each other. And this is what you have when you don't have sanitary conditions. They say cleanliness is next to godliness. I think people need to really take that saying and apply it to their everyday lives. Calculated Risk is saying wet market is immoral cruelty shit. I would agree based on what I've seen. I haven't seen them all, but the ones that I have seen were absolutely horrific and disgusting, and I can't believe it. Mahilo says, Calculated Risk, it's crazy. You hear all the talk and no politician or Chinese official has done something against wet markets. If they said it caused a virus, they should at least close them. Actually, I heard that in the past, I think it was after SARS, that they banned them, because I believe it was SARS where the SARS also had come from a wet market. And I believe that they banned them after SARS, but, then they allowed for it to happen again, and look what we have now. I think if they ban this thing, and I think they have banned it again, the sort of domestication of these wild animals, exotic animals for consumption, I believe they've banned it again in China, is my understanding. I could be wrong. But, hopefully they don't lift the ban. And hopefully they do something about, the sanitary standards in those markets, because we just can't afford this, man. We can't afford this. The world is like, really, I mean, this was more damaging than any sort of terrorist attack. This is going to be more damaging than natural disasters. I mean, this is going to be a mess. And I'm talking about not only the death toll, but the economies are all going to be ravaged by this thing. And it's crazy that it happens, and maybe coincidental, maybe convenient that it happens the same year as an election year. A lot of conspiracy theories are going to circle around that. So Calculated Risk says, man, people on the beach need some good slap. And, Calculated Risk is saying, yes, something fishy's going on, man. They better buy a mask instead of toilet paper. Mahilo says, Calculated Risk, hate going to these things, but heard of Event 201. It was a pandemic exercise months before the actual outbreak. Fishy, very fishy. So there are some, conspiracy theories going on in the chat room right now. Just crazy, man. Just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. So, we got this coronavirus now. We lost 2 Black Mambas this year. We're losing fights left and right. One thing I'm especially upset about, and I will preface this by saying that, for me, human life and human health is the most important thing on earth. Your health and people's health and well-being is the most important thing on earth. Everything comes after that. Anything, especially money and business, comes after that. So it's totally cool to me that they're canceling fights and events and stuff like that because of this pandemic. I expect nothing less. I was actually really disgusted that they were still trying to get people to vote and do things and go to work, as recently as a few days ago. But, even though obviously, human life is at the top of my priority in human health. I am a little bit worried and I mean a little bit sad because it does look like Fighters Rep 10 on the 29th of May will probably be postponed or canceled altogether until, well, I mean, I'll say it'll be postponed. It won't be canceled altogether. Fighters Rep 10 will likely be postponed, and it really sucks because, you know, we had a massive show at Fighters Rep 9. So many people turned out. Our biggest, best event ever. It was so successful. You know, we were turning people away at the door because, you know, so many tickets were sold. You know, over 24,000 people in total have watched the live stream, maybe more by now. But, you know, it was nice to have that, and I was hoping to, you know, carry that momentum into the 29th of May, which is when Fighters Rep 10 was supposed to happen, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So yeah, and Calculated Risk says Italy hit the hardest. Sad, man. Many casualties, and you know it is really crazy. They're saying, let's see, the deaths are mounting over there in Italy. I wonder how many. Let's take a look at the number they got now. Wow, you know, in the last 24 hours in Italy, 800 deaths. Nearly 800 deaths for a total of 4,825. It's crazy that they've surpassed China with the largest number of deaths from the pandemic. Man, that is nuts. That is nuts. I mean, they've lost almost, you know, 5,000 people. They've lost almost 5,000 people because of, you know, some nasty ass dude or dudes, you know, decided to eat funky animals. I mean, what more can I say? What more can I say? We can, you know, proffer any old conspiracy theory we want to. But at the end of the day, you know, again, I'm going to go with science until I get some further evidence. And 4,825 people in Italy have died from this virus that a lot of people were just trying to, you know, play off as a common sort of flu or common cold. And, you know, it absolutely is not that based on what we're seeing here. It's looking a lot more serious. They're also saying they've got 55,578 cases of coronavirus in Italy. My goodness. And all parks, playgrounds closed. People are forbidden to travel to weekend homes. And the officials issued a decree that bans jogging, cycling, and long walks with or without dogs. Wow. So there you have it, knuckleheads. I mean, crazy times. Sad news. Mihailo Mikhail says, Italy, where it started the hardest, I guess had to do with a trade channel where trade was coming in from China. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. They do a lot of trade with China. And I'm sure, you know, Italy is a wonderful destination for tourism. So, you know, people were going over there to check out, you know, all the amazing art and history and ruins and stuff like that. And, you know, probably got a lot of people sick because of that. It's a real shame. And for me, the sad part is, you know, seeing all these old people get sick and die. You know, I keep thinking to myself, man, these people worked their entire lives to enjoy the twilight of their life in peace. And, you know, instead they got to deal with this crazy this crazy virus and get wiped out basically if they get it, if they're too old or have some sort of pre-existing condition. But knuckleheads, that's pretty much all I've got for you guys today, man. I appreciate you guys jumping on and joining me. Maybe we'll be back on tomorrow to talk a little bit more about everything that's going on. But, I appreciate you guys hopping on the chat. And, think about it. Give me your thoughts. Tell me what you guys think. I mean, the fact that we lost, two of the greats, both nicknamed Black Mamba this year, as well as this coronavirus. I mean, how's this year been for you? For me, I thought it was pretty good, but seeing all these other people suffer kind of, again, takes me down a notch. But anyway, you guys, tell me what you think. Leave a comments in the comments section. And we'll talk soon. Until next time, maybe tomorrow or Monday. Keep it clean. Be safe. Stay indoors. Don't go outside if you don't have to, guys. Have a good one.